15.
Please welcome our first speaker, who is without a doubt the master of crime, who has written about the McMafia, which looked at every single crime family from Colombians, Mexicans, mafias everywhere, who's now turned his incredible journalistic skills to the world of cybercrime. Misha Glenny will be signing his books afterwards, but please give him a great welcome, and he's going to, I hope, scare the hell out of us all.
Good evening. Now, as an author, I like a challenge. So for my latest book, as was indicated, I decided to write about computers. Wherein lies the challenge of that? Well, that is that the fact is, for the great majority of the world, computer technology is intrinsically, witlessly boring. So I had to find a way about talking about cybercrime, about cyber-industrial espionage, and cyber warfare, which is hugely important, in a way that would be entertaining and, I hope, illuminating as well. So I'm not going to bamboozle you, you'll be pleased to know, with phrases like buffer overflow or SQL injection, but instead I want to talk to you about some of the criminal hackers I've got to know over the past couple of years, and what sort of things they do. Now, the latest estimates we have for the global annual losses due to malfeasance on the web is anywhere between 100 billion and $1 trillion, which of course is a lot of money. According to the Office of Cybersecurity here in London, that's a government agency, Britain loses £27 billion a year to cybercrime. Now, one of the things that tells you is that actually we don't know how much money we lose to cybercrime. A lot of these figures are just picked out of the air, but I can assure you that we do lose a hell of a lot. Now, cybercrime comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. There is the ability to crack open bank accounts. Then there is the low-hanging fruit of credit and debit card fraud, stolen details of your credit cards, and about 65% of us have been victim of that particular crime. But you can also roam the database if you're a skillful hacker of any corporation following a successful phishing attack launched via spam. And how about the world of scareware? I want to introduce you to the wonderful company, a dynamic Ukrainian company called Innovative Marketing. Now, most of the young Ukrainians who worked for Innovative Marketing had no idea that they were involved in a major financial fraud. They believed they were part of a go-get-it startup company dealing in path-breaking software. Now, what Innovative Marketing actually did was to send out malware onto the internet that would prompt your browser to trigger pop-ups telling you that your computer had been fatally compromised by viruses. Help was at hand, however, because Innovative Marketing was there to offer a range of products that would supposedly combat these terrible infections. Here is one of their standard ones, Malware Destructor 2009, which claims to outperform the market leaders such as Norton, Kaspersky, F-Secure. And have a look there at all those awards it's garnered. Now, which of you here ever actually go to CNET or to PC Pro to check and see whether they have actually reviewed a product like Malware Destructor 2009? But Innovative Marketing didn't restrict themselves to antivirus suites alone. This is one of my favorites here, Ecology Green PC. Now, if you download this software, it says, you will reduce power consumption, minimize CO2 emissions, and perform at optimal eco level. A snip at $39.95 for a year's license, or if you've got a real conscience, $79.95 for a lifetime of eco-computing. Now, to install one of these products, you had to remove any existing anti-malware software that you had on your computer. And once the new software was in place, it did precisely nothing. If you were lucky. If you were unlucky, it was one of those copies which was preloaded with new viruses and Trojans, which would enable a computer in Ukraine and elsewhere to take control of your computer and use it in the legendary botnet, the army of zombie computers that cybercriminals use to attack various websites. And you were, of course, vulnerable to all sorts of viruses now whipping around the net. And, of course, you were paying for the privilege of all this. And this is one of Innovative Marketing's receipts here for 50 euros. And a friend of mine was exploring Innovative's marketing server because, amazingly, for a criminal site, they'd left it wide open so he could do that legally. And he downloaded all the receipts of Innovative Marketing to discover that over a 3-year period, they made $500 million out of this. So a lot of money. So let's have a little closer look at that receipt. Would you believe it? They have call centers. Yes. Innovative Marketing was making so much money that they set up a German language call center in Poland, a French language one in Algeria, and an English-speaking call center in, guess where? Of course, India.
Welcome to customer support service.
Thank you for calling customer support. This is Mike. How can I help you?
Yes, hello. My name is Todd Marble. I called about 10 minutes ago because I had purchased your virus remover 2008 program, and I'm still having trouble getting it onto my PC.
Could I have your order number, sir?
Yes, I can give that to you. Are you ready?
Now, Mike, our man in Hyderabad, is asking Todd Marvel for the order number because that will tell him which particular fake product he is pretending to assist him with. 20 minutes after he first called for help, Todd Marvel is exhausted at the end of his tether. He's been driven to distraction by Mike, the call center operator, and he doesn't yet know, alas, alack, that his computer is riddled with viruses.
You're not listening. You're not listening to me. I'm trying to shut my computer down because I cannot go anywhere. It's locked up on me. So I'm going to pull the plug on it and shut it down.
No, sir. No, sir. Kindly listen to me. So what I suggest you is you please restart your computer in the safe mode with networking, sir.
To be honest with you, I am not a computer literate type of guy. I don't know how to shut it down in safe mode.
Well, in that case, what I suggest is you just contact your system vendor, sir. They might help you out with, okay?
Yes, contact your system vendor, the answer to everyone's problems. So, as we see, cybercrime is big money. But let me be frank, any data collected by law enforcement, tax authorities, and private companies is likely to underestimate the real value of cybercrime. And that's for two reasons. One, individuals and companies are often very reluctant to report that they've been victims of cybercrime. And secondly, victims often don't know that they are victims. And that is because of the botnet, something that everyone should learn about. And the botnet is an army of zombie computers, which a command and control computer organizes and uses to attack websites, to attack individual computers. And that zombie army can be 100,000 strong, and it's used to extort companies of money, to send out spam, and so on and so forth. And we can all be part of a zombie army without knowing it. Now, the reason for this is the internet is above all a tool of convenience. We have developed an extreme dependence on the internet in a very short space of time, and our behavior has changed fundamentally as a consequence. We become far too sloppy. Would you, for example, go up to somebody on the street, a stranger, and start telling them about your likes, your dislikes, what you think of your boss, your sexual orientation, whether you've recently been on a drunken spree or taking drugs, certainly handing over your email, your telephone number, and even your real address? You wouldn't dream of doing it, would you? But for some reason on the internet, most of us appear only too happy to hand out this sort of information left, right, and center. And what that means is when it comes to cybersecurity and cybercrime, we, the ordinary users, are the primary vulnerability exploited by nefarious activists. Now, I want to go on to these characters, the perpetrators. This is perhaps the most worrying aspect of cybercrime because the people we're dealing with on the other side of the fence, they're smart, they're ingenious, they're creative, and I can tell you that on one level, they're really good fun to hang out with. So let's have a look at some of them. Very different types of people from very, very different parts of the world. We're going to look at 6 of them. This is Dmitry Golubov. The script, founder of Carder Planet. Carder Planet was the daddy of all carding sites, which are basically online department stores for people to come and buy and sell credit cards, buy and sell viruses, all sorts of other things. They can sell tutorials on crime on the net and this sort of thing. And he was born in 1982, and he grew up in Odessa, in Ukraine after the collapse of communism, where everything was immoral, everything was gangster capitalism, and he quite naturally just took his gangster capitalism and used the same techniques on the World Wide Web. Then we have Renault Subramanian, who was a moderator and then an administrator of Darkmarket.com. He was born in Colombo in Sri Lanka, and in the 1980s, he was a Tamil living in Colombo. He was nearly killed several times by Sinhalese mobs and by the civil war then when he moved up to Jaffna. He had a very traumatized childhood and was sent as a 13-year-old as a refugee to the United Kingdom. Here he didn't speak any English, he was bullied at school, and he found refuge in the world of computers. He was excellent at maths, but he was very naive and easily manipulated by other people on the web. He was convicted of credit and mortgage fraud last year, and he will be released from Wormwood Scrubs in about 12 months' time. Then we have Max Butler, aka, oh no we don't, we have Marcus Keller, aka Matrix. He was born in southern Germany, and as a 13-year-old, he learnt how to hack into huge corporate servers to store the games that he was pirating. So Marcus, who came from a very solid middle-class family, is an extremely important example because his slide into crime was incremental and the result of his curiosity. And it was only later on, and this of course when he was doing this for the first time, his moral compass hadn't been formed, and it was only later on when he was in his late teens and early 20s that he realized how deeply into crime he was. By that time he couldn't get out. And then we come to Max Butler, aka Iceman, who was born in Meridian, Idaho in the late 1990s as working on the bright side as a computer security consultant. He identified a major vulnerability affecting all US government networks, including nuclear research facilities. And out of patriotism, he patched these up and prevented them from being attacked from all sorts of people outside. But he put in a tiny little digital hole through which only he could crawl. This was spotted, and he was sent to an open prison, which was littered with financial fraudsters who realized with Iceman that they had this golden goose on their hands. And when he got out of prison, he couldn't get any work because he was convicted and so on, and 2 financial fraudsters turned him into the master cracker Iceman. He was caught, and he is now serving a 13-year sentence in California. This is Adewale Taiwo, aka Freddie Bibi, master bank account cracker, born in Abuja, Nigeria. He set up his prosaically entitled news group, bankfrauds@yahoo.co.uk, before entering the country in 2005 to take a master's in chemical engineering at Manchester University. He impressed in the private sector as a specialist in the creation of chemical applications for the oil industry, but simultaneously ran a worldwide bank and credit card fraud network that was worth millions until his arrest in 2008. And he was deported in April from Doncaster back to Nigeria. And finally, Çağatay Evyapan, the mastermind of, or one of the masterminds of Darkmarket, from Istanbul, who had the most sophisticated digital protection of any cyber criminal in the world, and he was only busted by a mistake of one of his associates. Now, they're all from very different social and economic circumstances, but they share the following characteristics. They were obsessive game players. They all demonstrated advanced abilities in maths and science. They all developed their hacking skills in their early teens. Three of the hackers, Gilzi, Matrix, Gilzi is Renault, Subramanian, Matrix and Iceman, were not motivated primarily by money, and their personal and communication skills in the real world, apart from script and chow, were weak at best. And I am absolutely convinced that were it not for the internet, Gilzi, Matrix and Iceman would never have been involved in conventional crime. Now, the reason why I highlight the hackers is that we are missing a trick by not diverting resources into understanding their psychosocial profile. Along with intelligence agencies, they are the other group, hackers, which migrate between cybercrime, cyber-industrial espionage, and cyber warfare. And at the moment, we're not engaging in any serious research into them, but I think we have to, and we have to start helping these people as well to try and find useful ways of channeling their undoubted skills. Now, I want to end by briefly talking about Stuxnet. If anybody thought that cyber threats are a joke, after Stuxnet, they have to change their mind. Stuxnet, according to Mikko Hipponen, Chief Research Officer of F-Secure, the antivirus company, he said that it was the most important development in cyber over the past 10 years, because Stuxnet is the kind of virus that can bring down electric grids, power stations, water utilities, and more, and almost caused a nuclear explosion in Iran. So Stuxnet makes it very clear that states around the world are investing considerable resources in developing some very deadly cyber weapons. And yet, while Stuxnet may be a game changer, when broken down, researchers found it was cobbled together from four very common products of the criminal underworld. So we need to focus on understanding how the triple threat of cybercrime, cyber-industrial espionage, and cyber warfare are linked, not just digitally, but politically and socially as well. What we need to do is to educate people so that they realize that these issues affect all of us. And we have to do that, and this is the biggest challenge, without turning our society into a police state. It's a very big challenge, but maybe if we all start educating ourselves, we'll be able to meet it. Thank you very much indeed.